Hey, how you doing? All right, good. Uh, we are today in our world. We are living at the ending and the beginning, actually, of two cycles. One is the precessional cycle, where we go from, for example, Pisces to Aquarius. We're still making that transition, even though people were talking about the age of Aquarius some time ago, like 50 years ago or so. But we're still in that transition. We're still moving from Pisces to Aquarius. And when this happens, like this change of seasons, sometimes things in the world get a little tumultuous, you see. And it brings on uncertainty, anxiety, and fear in people's lives. And that's what's going on today amongst billions of people in the world today. Billions of people in the world today are anxious. They're fearful. They sort of think that they sense the ending of something. Ending of a period. Like I say, the precessional period, ending, going from Pisces to Aquarius. And that's a 2,155 year ride in Aquarius. We have a long ways to go. Aquarius is just beginning, We're just getting off of Pisces. A lot of times, the change of these cycles, tumultuous events occur in the world. Big events, notable events. Well, at the beginning of the Pisces, the age of Pisces, we say, the Greeks were in ancient Egypt, and the Romans came along and kicked them out and took over right at the beginning of Pisces. We can say the beginning of that cycle, And this was the beginning of Christianity also. Christianity came in with the age of Pisces. Well, what's coming in with the age of Aquarius? Well, I haven't heard. That's for the religious fathers, those guys, to inform the world of a newfound religion, because the religion, the cult will change, the major cult, let's say, would change every 2,155 years, something like that. A precessional period. But then, we also have to deal with at this point in time is a phoenix cycle. Now, we can note the phoenix cycle. It's a 500-year cycle, the one I'm talking about. Some say there's other, time frames, 600 years, 400 years. I'm talking about the 500 years phoenix cycle, And so, remember the phoenix, the bird that rose up from the ashes and all that stuff. Well, we take a notable event that occurred approximately 500 years ago. It don't have to be on the exact day, 500 years, in that range, of time, So we know that in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. That was a momentous event because of what it led to. The opening of the Western world to Westerners. Folks are already here. But anyway, the Western world was opened up to Westerners. That was a momentous event because, like I said, what in itself it was the discovery for the Western world, and because of what it led to. It led to the becoming, or led to the United States, for one thing. So, that was an event, And so that's the phoenix cycle. But the phoenix cycle, that 500-year cycle, is coming to an end. So when one cycle ends, another begins at the same time. So we are in a change, and like I say, these change going from one cycle to the other can be tumultuous. I mean, tumultuous events can take place in the world. And they are. So we're here with two cycles we're dealing with, you know. So now, and you have many people who feel afraid. They're anxious. There's indecision, inconclusiveness. It's a bad time for people. Billions of them, like I've said, you know. And so, how come? Why do people feel this way at the end and beginning of a cycle? Well, we know, even during the seasons here on Earth, like going from spring to summer, summer to fall, fall to winter, whatever, things can be somewhat tense if you really pay attention. Things can be a little tense with the weather, you know. So, March, going out like a lion, that would be tumultuous event, you know, big storms and all that stuff. But anyway, we see that people are very uptight, anxiety, fear. Some people are contemplating suicide. Some people may be committing suicide because of the uncertainty, you know. And we say, well, wait a minute. Why the uncertainty, you know? The uncertainty arises when people are not in control of the inner forces in their body. They're not in control. They should be. But when they are in control, if ever they get there, this is self-knowledge. So there's the statement, know thyself. With self-knowledge, okay, you can control the forces within you that give rise to fear, that give rise to anxiety, indecisiveness, etc. You can control them, and that way you won't feel that way. You won't feel so terrible. The change of a cycle or any other time. Okay. So then, let's go back to what we mentioned about the god Ptah, P-T-A-H is the spelling of his name. Okay, it was a very ancient god, Kemite god. Okay, ancient Egyptian, or the Kemites. So Ptah, remember, Ptah was at the potter's wheel. He sits at the potter's wheel, and he creates a child out of clay. Yeah. And so we have this child out of clay, but this child now, he could just stand there. That's about all he can do is just stand there. He has no life in him. He's just clay, you know. And so Ptah then creates the child's Ka. Ka spelled K-A. And so this Ka then is the life force. The energy, the electromagnetic energy that flows through our body, gives us mobility. We can walk around, we can act, we can talk, we can do whatever we want to do, you know. We have mobility because of the life force that is within us. I have different names for this life force, okay. we'll just call it the Ka for right now. But later on, we'll discuss things where we'll use other names depending on the religion or the cult or whatever. We can explain it in terms of what they call the life force, okay? So anyway, the Gata puts the life force into the child, and the child began to act. He had a locomotion now, wonderful, okay? But still, this locomotion, this life force in the child is really undeveloped. It's in him, but undeveloped, okay? Now, let's go back to the Judeo-Christian tradition where God the Father made Adam out of the dust of the earth. And he blew a puff of air through his nostril, breathing. We breathe through our nostril. So he put the life force into Adam by breathing into his nostril. That mythology is telling us something. It tells us that we can have an impact on our life force knowingly through breathing exercise. Okay, that's part of it, breathing exercise. So anyway, Tom makes the child, he inserts the life force, but now, like I said, this force needs to be developed. We all have the life force in us, but do we all have self-knowledge? Well, some people claim to know who they are. Well, I'm not talking about who you are, I'm talking about what you are. It is the what you are that we deal with. The who you are, well, that will come later. We'll talk about that too. Well, we'll mention it. It's the personality, but we've got to get rid of that. We want to get into this life force, and what we want to do is to develop it. We want to develop our life force. And through this development of the life force, we transform ourselves from ignorance to knowledge. That's a resurrection that takes place in this life, you see. Now, the knowledge I'm talking about is knowledge of self. I'm not talking about academic knowledge or the gathering of information and facts. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about knowledge of this body, the life force that flows through it. Once we gain that knowledge, we become causal. Instead of being reactive creatures, we become causal creatures, because we have acquired then, at this point, via the transformation, we have acquired knowledge such that we can cause things to occur within us. You see, now, with this knowledge, well, we used the whole example, the change of season, where we're going from Pisces to Aquarius, you know what I mean, or where we are here now at the Phoenix cycle, 500-year cycle from, we'll say, well, we went with the 1492 when Columbus sailed the ocean blue, okay, until now, it's about, it was within the range of a 500-year Phoenix cycle, okay? So now with this knowledge of self, with this ability that we acquire in order to be causal and to cause interactions to occur within our body, such as with hormones, etc., or whatever else goes on in the body, the flow of energy in our body, we can have an effect on that. And by having, let's say, the power and control through self-knowledge, and we can eliminate anxiety, fear, we can prevent it from even occurring. You don't have to fear. You don't have to have this uncertainty. You don't have to experience this anxiety, which can be terrifying. And it's terrifying to some people, you see. So we simply can cause that, let's say, through working with our inner forces, we can become causal and prevent those forces from gaining control and having a negative effect on us. We can prevent that through self-knowledge, you see. So now, in the scriptures, all of them, like the Jewish scripture, the Christian scripture, the Muslim scripture, the Hindu cults, we can call them that, Hindu cults, the folks in India, and the folks, the Buddhists, etc., and the folks in China, wherever. They're ancient scriptures, if they haven't been tampered with, they all tell the same story. They all tell the same thing. They're mythology. Mythology tells us how to live. You'll be surprised, though, where the origins of this. Some people can accept the true origin and source of these mythologies. Some people can't accept it, won't accept it, reject it out of hand. These are the folks who try not to understand. Okay. But all these scriptures tell the same story, really. When you get into these scriptures, they tell us how to live, how to acquire self-knowledge, how to become causal. Okay. And many go by, let's say, the two truths. Okay, which we have to get into the two truths. People, you can learn of the two truths and you can live by the two truths. People have lived by the two truths. Just what are these two truths, you know what I mean? Well, there's many two truths, Well, let's take one. For the Christian tradition, you have Jesus is the truth, the first truth. And the second truth is the Christ. You see, would be the second truth. In the Kimite tradition, we say, well, we have Heru, and we have Heru hawk-headed. This is the one who breaks the veil of the temple, rended the veil, the temple asunder. You know what I mean? This is Heru hawk-headed. But what is this veil they're talking about here? You know what I mean? Well, the veil happens to be the flesh body. Remember we talked? Maybe not. Well, the mummy. This flesh body is also the mummy. Flesh body, the mummy wrappings and all that. Yeah. And that life force that Ta inserted into the clay child, is still in us. Yeah, well, it gives us locomotion. We're able to walk, talk, and all that stuff, Even think, which is a little thinking, can be dangerous unless you're in control of the cerebral cortex. Well, anyway, so we have this mythologies, and as I said, they tell us really the same story. They tell us how to transform from ignorance to knowledge. This is the resurrection, in this life. And we'll even get around to talking about the resurrection into the future life after death of the body. But the resurrection I'm talking about is now. I'm talking about the body is alive. But the death here in this resurrection is the personality. The personality dies because it holds us back We'll get back with this soon.